and we're going to put a show up, and it was actually going to be I was going to break the show up and do a couple different sections, but now considering I'm a YouTube partner and a Google partner, and I can now make shows as long as I want, thank you very much. Well, by the way, they approached me, okay? I didn't approach them. They sent me an email saying, you know what? We love your show. How would you like to have 5-hour shows if you wanted it? I was like, that'd be cool. And they're like, sign this up. And I was like, yeah. So now I'm a YouTube partner and I can put up shows that are like 2 hours long if I wanted to. But anyway, so I'm going to do this show. And I'm going to try to talk about 3 different things, which are common emails I get about, Mike, is paintball a sport? What about paintball in the Olympics? What about paintball in the X Games? So let's talk about that a little bit today. Okay. Is paintball a sport? Okay, yes, I think it is a sport. But then again, so is anything. Okay, anything can technically be considered a sport. Competitive gum chewing. Okay, get 2 people, they put a piece of gum in their mouth and they chew it and see whoever wins, who can chew it the longest. Okay, competitive shoe tying. Me and you say, you know what? Let's see who can tie our shoes the fastest. Okay, that could be a sport. A staring contest. Okay, people can do a staring contest. So I can lean up here and stare. Okay, and whoever looks away first is the winner. That can be a sport. Competitive thumb wrestling. Okay, me and you be sitting in a bar and all of a sudden you win. Shit. Okay, yeah, now you're the thumb wrestling world champion. Okay, anything can be considered a sport. Okay, you have to understand that if you're playing paintball, if paintball is going to be your one shot at showing the world that you're a true athlete. Okay, you're in the wrong, definitely the wrong theme or the wrong sport or the wrong anything, okay? Is it a sport? Yeah. Does it take a little bit of physical exertion? Yeah. But are you wasting your time trying to justify to the whole world that it's as competitive as football? Hell yeah, okay? I played football. I played baseball. I played basketball. I played tennis. I played volleyball. I played golf, okay? I played all of those sports competitively, okay? I played semi-professional softball for a while. I toured with Hooters and shit like that, So, I've played, a lot of sports in my time, okay? And let me tell you what, compared to what real sports, quote, real sports, the amount of conditioning that you have to go through for real sports compared to paintball is like this. Real sports are like this, okay? When you're playing, like we like to consider a real sport like baseball or football, okay, that's all you think about all day long, okay? You're working out every single day. You're watching film. You're watching your diet and stuff like that. Now, there are a lot of paintball players that do that. Most of them do not, okay? So the biggest question is when people look at you personally, they're going to see whether you fit the bill of a true athlete, okay? Have you taken a look at like some of the guys from like Excessive and some of the professional paintball players, okay? Those guys are very in shape. They're very cut up, okay? They eat well. They work out. Well, most of them. They eat well. They work out. They look like athletes, okay? So if you're taking a look at somebody, if you're trying to justify to somebody that paintball is a sport and that's why you played, and they're taking a look at you and you're 80 pounds overweight, and you haven't jogged a lap around the track in 5 years, okay, you're going to have a hard time selling that to somebody. But somebody who's, in shape, mentally, physically, that eats right, they're not going to question whether or not that you're playing a real sport or not. So I think in many cases the answer lies in the individual person that's trying to sell it, okay? I remember when Excessive and Joy Division came to Cone Sports one time and did a scrimmage, and I remember seeing all the girls that were like salivating over the Excessive and the Joy Division players because, if you melted like one of the Joy Division players down, like you couldn't even make like a square of butter. I mean, these guys were like no body fat, completely in shape, played like 20 games, in like an hour, never even broke a sweat, So, those guys were athletes, okay? But is paintball a sport? Anything can be a sport, so that doesn't really justify it. But something you got to keep in mind, too, is sitting there and crying about it and complaining that, this person says it's not, the other person, okay? You're starting to sound a lot like cheerleaders, okay? Cheerleaders for a very long time were having a hard time justifying to people that they were actually a sport. Most people will agree that cheerleading is a sport, okay? I've dated cheerleaders, okay? Actually, one of the first girls I dated when I got to college was a swashbuckler, one of the cheerleaders for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That was a pretty good 2 or 3 weeks until she found out I wasn't actually in med school and that I was actually just an idiot freshman. But anyway, the cheerleading had to go through a long thing of trying to justify to people that it was a sport and this, that, and the other, and they succeeded. But comparing paintball to cheerleading, I mean, the average paintball player couldn't catch a cheerleader in a foot race, even if the cheerleader had high heels on, okay? So that just goes to show you how far we as a sport have to go, okay? So, is paintball a sport? Well, yeah, but then again, so is anything, okay? If I can consider thumb wrestling a sport or competitive beer drinking, I don't care, okay? That can be a sport. Okay, then sure, paintball can be a sport. Are you going to be recognized as an athlete? Probably not. It's going to come down to your personal choices in terms of diet, in terms of exercise, in terms of working out, in terms of mental conditioning and stuff like that. If you exercise and you bust your ass as hard as somebody who's playing a traditional sport would be, people are going to consider you an athlete. Now, let's talk about paintball in the Olympics, okay? Okay, paintball in the Olympics. Will paintball ever be in the Olympics? I seriously doubt it, okay? I seriously doubt it. You got to understand, kind of getting into the psychology of the Olympics and this, that, and the other. In many cases, a lot of countries use the Olympics as a metaphor for warfare, okay? They can't compete with the bigger countries in terms of military size and economic power and stuff like that. So they send their athletes to compete as a form of being able to fight on a level playing field. Not everybody does this, and it's a disgrace that some countries do this, but a lot of countries do, okay? And this is why you hear about, people, Olympians that go back to their home country and get executed because they didn't get a silver medal or something like that, okay? It happens every year. So, paintball in the Olympics, I don't see that really being a true thing, because the problem is that you're dealing with lots of different countries with lots of different ideas, and the fact of seeing people shooting at each other doesn't fit into what the Olympics are trying to do. I know the Olympics are like trying to talk about peace and this, that, and the other, and it's a shame that it can't just be a true, athletic competition, because politics get involved in it and all this other shit. Look, just like what happened with China with all the censorship. That's so distracting as an athlete trying to go out there and compete when all this other drama, this political drama and this war drama and this other shit gets put into just true athletic competition. That's the problem that a lot of people don't understand about the Olympics. In its essence, unfortunately, it is not a true athletic competition. Everything gets drawn into it, and politics and all this other crap get drawn into it. And unfortunately, the world is just not prepared to see people shooting at each other with these quasi-military look-alike replica firearms that shoot paint, not bullets, okay? That would freak the world out. Freak the world out. I mean, can you imagine Israel playing against Iran in paintball, okay? Someone would probably, if not everybody, would probably end up getting killed, okay? So the Olympics are not ready for that. So trying to say paintball in the Olympics, it just will not happen. Taking something that looks very similar to a firearm and pointing it at somebody that from another country is too close to war than these people want to get. So give up on that argument. It's not going to happen, okay? I don't see, a German team and a French team going at it and pointing quasi-replica firearm-looking things that shoot paint at each other and putting that up on CBS. Okay, that is going to freak the world out, and it's just not going to send the message that I think that the promoters are going to want to send, that the athletes are going to want to send, or anything like that. So give up on paintball Olympics is probably never going to happen. And as a matter of fact, you'll notice that a lot of the paintball sports, a lot of the Olympic sports that use firearms, like cross-country skiing, where they use the little pellet guns and they use the little 22s and stuff like that. A lot of times those aren't even broadcasted on the news. When they're showing the coverage. I mean, they may show them kind of skiing and they'll show you the points that they got from hitting the targets, but they're not actually going to show you the people shooting, okay? Most people are not ready for that. So give up on paintball in the Olympics. It sounds like a really good idea until you consider all the metaphors about war and the politics, and can you imagine Israel shooting at Iran, or the American team going against the Iranian team, and that's way out of what this world is capable of understanding. So, next topic, X Games. Does paintball have a chance of getting into the X Games? I think it does, okay? You got to remember when X Games first started, most of you kids probably weren't alive, okay? what was the one thing that they had that just was like, oh my god, competitive bungee jumping, okay, where there was like people like jumping off of like piers and stuff like that and off these cranes, and they were like strapped themselves to like freaking canoes and Elvis costumes and everything like that. Okay, so luckily the X Games has learned and they've grown from that. But does paintball have a chance of getting into the X Games? Yes. If I can launch TechPB and TechPB is successful, will I try to get us in there? Yes, because I understand what it's going to take to get paintball in the X Games. The biggest thing, and here's what I think is going to take to get paintball into the X Games, is one, there's a lot of cross-promoters. There's a lot of people that spend money to advertise in paintball, like Monster Energy drink and stuff like that, that also spend money to advertise in the X Games. The biggest thing is going to be money and whether or not they can get people to watch it. So if you can sell that, we can get sponsors to sponsor these teams, and we can sell the networks that people are going to watch it, then yeah, it's got a really good shot of getting into the X Games. Is it going to be really that much different than what you're seeing normally on TV? I don't know. I mean, hopefully it ends up coming out pretty good, but it's got a pretty good chance of getting into the X Games. The biggest thing is, one, they're going to have to guarantee ratings, and two, they're going to have to guarantee a lot of sponsorship in order for that to happen. What is some of the things that are probably holding, the professional sport, or, the professional side of paintball back a little bit from maybe getting into the X Games? One, I mean, I hate to say this, but most professional paintball players don't even like playing paintball, okay? I've known a lot of professional paintball players, okay? They don't get paid shit. As much as you kids would like to think they make, hundreds of thousands of dollars, it doesn't happen. They get treated like shit from from many times from the sponsors, from the fans, from their coaches, and this, that, and the other, it's just, there's a lot of things holding paintball back. Unfortunately, a lot of the professional paintball players that play it, and this is a quote directly from Rich Telford, they play it because they play it because they're good at it, not because they like doing it. It's very easy to get burned out on paintball. This industry is just disgusting in the way how it treats everybody. It's probably one of the grimiest, dirtiest, most scumbag-infested industry I've ever seen. Just in terms of just how everybody treats each other and stuff like that. I mean, something you got to also understand is that the bigger paintball gets in terms of in corporate eyes, the more the huge umbrella corporations are going to come in and start telling us what to do. You're going to see that feeling, that camaraderie that you usually have when you go out there and play paintball is slowly going to start to dissolve as you try to push the sport and really try to expose it to people. In my opinion, okay, there are certain things that you do in your life because you personally enjoy it. Okay, it can be anything. Okay, it can be what's a funny example? My wife's gonna kill me for this, but I can take her out to a 5-star restaurant, and that doesn't turn her on as much as if I take her to Office Depot. Why? She loves stationery. For her, she loves collecting it. Okay, like I can bring her home roses, or I can bring her home Post-it notes that look like seashells. She loves the seashells. Okay, I'll bring it home. Drives her crazy. That's probably just why she's a kindergarten teacher. She loves this shit. Okay, people that like to do like stamp collecting or dollar bill collecting or at Red Bull Fluke Talk, there was a Metrocon going on. Or people that are like really big into anime and they're like getting dressed up in their characters and stuff like that. Okay, you do in life. Do things that make you happy, okay? For me, playing paintball makes me happy. I love playing paintball. I've never tried to sell it to anybody else. I've never tried to justify it to anybody else. I just play it because I like doing it. I like the physical part of it. I like the mechanical part of it. I like working on guns. It gives me, something different to do other than sitting in a cubicle or working on a computer or something like that. I've always loved playing paintball. And the trying to push it on the general public to justify it as a real sport, I think is not a good idea. We've been trying to do that, and there was a big push a couple of years ago, and look at where it's at now. So we tried to expose it to the public. We worked really hard to expose it to the public, and look at where the sport is at right now. It's shrinking, and it's shrinking really fast. And these big umbrella, massive glam rock corporations would get involved in it. And they're making a mess of everything. I mean, look at, for instance, what happened with War Game products. I was a huge fan of War Games products for years. Now look at the dog shit they're cranking out. It's awful. Awful. God awful. Well, that's what happened. K2 bought it. Now all they give a shit about is cranking out units and selling their autocockers at Walmart now. I mean, so that's what we got to watch out for if we try to make this a glam rock mainstream sport, is that it's good. These major corporations are going to come in here and dilute the fuck out of it. The quality of the products is going to go down, and you're going to start seeing your guns being able to purchase at Walmart and all these other places, and it's just going to cause more trouble. I'll tell you this. In life, fuck what everyone else says. Screw what they think. Do what makes you happy. Play paintball because you enjoy it, and have a good time doing it. Don't try to sell it to people that it's a real sport. Don't try to explain it to people. They're not going to understand. Play it because you enjoy it and you have a good time playing it, and hopefully you can play it for like 19, 20 years like I have. Trying to justify it as a sport, trying to justify yourself as a paintball athlete, trying to get into the Olympics and this, that, and the other. That's on the road to burnout, okay? And that's the worst thing that happens to people all the time. They get burned out. So do what makes you happy. To hell with what anybody else thinks, and have a good time playing paintball. And I'll tell you, the best thing that you can do for paintball, the absolute best thing you can do for paintball, is take somebody that you know who might be interested in it and invite them out to your local field to play. Thanks for tuning in.